All right, guys, so for the vlog, now that I'm in my third trimester, I wanted to change it up a little bit and really highlight all that happens in this last 12-week period of the pregnancy. So once you get into your third trimester, there's all sorts of tests that you're gonna take and doctor's appointments and just things to prep for the actual birth and how you're gonna take care of this baby afterwards. So each episode will have a little bit of a focus as far as what's going on with me and kind of where I'm at and what I experienced that week. I hope that you guys enjoy and that you can either prepare yourselves or enjoy this journey along with me. All right, so 28 weeks today, as mentioned. Here's the belly. This is pretty much morning belly. I have not yet eaten breakfast. I'm gonna weigh myself right now and see where we're at. I'm gonna put my phone down to do that. So, who wants to add the weight to the phone? I think last week I was still just under 20 pounds total at 157 point something. So let's check it out. I've been tracking my weight weekly, and it's not like a, oh, I'm worried about how much weight they're numbers to me, and I like to have info and data. And at 4 weeks, I was still the same. I was just still my regular weight. And then for I gained 2 pounds, and I didn't gain any more weight for 7 weeks. And then all of a sudden I gained 3 pounds at 12 weeks pregnant. From between 10 and 12 weeks, I gained 3 pounds. And then since then, it's been I won't gain any weight at all 1 week. And then the next week, it's 2 pounds or 2.2 pounds or something like that. And it's been like that ever since. I know it's very common in the third trimester, once you have about 4 weeks left, for you not to gain any more weight. But we'll see. I think that did happen in my first pregnancy. But, I think a lot of pregnant women look at these charts and it's 1 to 1.5 pounds per week during your second trimester and third trimester. And so if you gain 3 pounds in 1 week, you're like, oh my gosh, that's double the recommended. But just knowing that there's a good chance next week you won't gain any, and then the next week it's up 4, and then the next week it's down 1 pound. Overall, you're gonna end up, for me, in my first pregnancy, I think I gained 32 pounds. So 30 to 35 pounds, but it's not as organized and linear as people think, and mine definitely hasn't been. There's been 3-week periods where I didn't gain any, and then a 4-pound gain in 1 week. So I try not to worry about it too much, but I have been tracking it just because I think it's interesting.
All right, it's 3 p.m. and I do want to work out today, but as you can see, here I am. My hips are so tight today, and I feel like my round ligaments or whatever is going on in there, he feels like he's almost heavy in there today. My low back is a little tight also. I don't know. I went to do the shopping, which was awesome. But then ever since then, I've been uncomfortable. I went to a coffee shop afterwards to work, and I was just feeling uncomfortable. Anyway, got some work done, came home, ate, and now I think I'm going to take a nap and assess the workout situation after that. Definitely heading into the super uncomfortable phase where sitting or standing or walking for long periods of time is not going to be good.
For both of my pregnancies, and I think it's pretty common in most pregnancies, round ligament pain, which is pain low in your belly. It's not quite your hip flexors, but close to that, is very common. And it started happening, I would say, pretty early, maybe early second trimester, as your belly starts to expand and grow. But I've definitely had it a little bit more lately, especially if I haven't been stretching or if I've been sitting a lot. And then I go to do like step ups or things like that. I noticed it when I got off the bike the other day in one of the workouts, and then I did step ups, and then I tried to do like that little half Turkish get up. It was like a really sharp, the round ligament pain often is more of a sharp pain, and sometimes people will think that that's cramping, but it's definitely not a cramp. It's more of a sharp pain in your ligaments that are just trying to expand for the baby. So if I'm really good at stretching and doing like a lunge type stretch and making sure that I'm not sitting too long and things like that, then it's not as bad, but it's also a very normal part of pregnancy that can just be expected. Put them in the bowls, baby. So as we go into this like last trimester and I'm still working out, obviously, a lot of it is for like mental sanity, to just keep moving. I don't have any swelling yet in my feet or my ankles or my hands or anything. And I do think that sweating and having good circulation through those workouts really does impact that a lot. So moving for that cause also. And then, what I'm thinking about as I'm doing it is obviously to protect the baby, but to be fit. I know in my first birth, there was a lot of pain involved, but I was never exhausted. It wasn't ever an energy problem or a strength problem in pushing or anything like that. It was more just painful. And where fitness doesn't help the pain feel less, it can help the exhaustion part. So just maintaining that is really important.
It was really long. It was a 800-meter run, so I did 1,600 meters on the concept bike. It's like 4 minutes. And then 3 rounds of 40 step-ups. It's supposed to be 20 pull-ups, but I did the supine rows. And then 10 Turkish get-ups. And the other day, when I was demoing shift for this workout, I did the half get-ups with weight. And it felt fine because it's a roll as opposed to like a crunch. So it wasn't, when I did it, I had a round ligament pain. It wasn't my abs. It was like these ligaments right here. It like on my right side was like, nope. So I just put the weight down and did them without weight. It felt fine. But if you're pregnant and you're gonna try to do those, you really have to make sure that you really roll all the way, because you don't want this sort of like crunch at all. So you really have to roll before you come up to your elbow. And just with weight, I was having some pain in my ligaments. Wasn't having it.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about the other 2 movements you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, the pull-ups are getting hard just because I'm heavy. And the step-ups are just slow. But I think the goal time is 25 minutes. It was 25:13 was my time, so I scaled appropriately.
Knox moved a lot. When I was pregnant with Knox, he moved a lot. And I knew that he moved a lot because I had several friends who were pregnant at the same time who didn't feel their baby. And I know that there's like reasons for not feeling him more or feeling him more than others. Like the placement of your uterus and where the placenta is in there all affects how much you feel your baby move, and all babies move. But Knox moved a lot, and I knew that just from comparing stories. This baby B, like last night it was like painful. And it's like wild, and you can see it. And again, I was like, am I just like exaggerating it in my mind? Because I'm an exaggerator for sure. But now 2 ultrasound techs, a doctor and the midwife have confirmed that he's like wild in there. And so I've put that on my Instagram a few times, and there's definitely some moms that say like, oh my gosh, I did the same, my baby was the same way and he's still wild. And I'm like, oh crap. But then there's other moms that will say like, my baby was like super crazy and he's like the most chill baby ever now that he's out. So yeah, it's just, I feel like you get to know their personalities. And I mean, Knox was wild in there and he's wild in real life. So He gets definitely more excited when Knox's voice is around. And I know I'm not just imagining that. Like if Knox is laughing or I'm messing with Knox, he's going crazy, or when I'm reading Knox books at night. So it's really fun. Julian can see it. Julian can feel it now, which I think is really special for him because it seems more real now for him.
I didn't know if you needed like my... So not collected, but we do need a sample.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically...
I mean, it
Yes.
looks like it's the negative things to me.
Okay. Let's see.
Nelson, you want to come look at it? Can you look at it?
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry.
Yep. So what we can also do sometimes is by the light, if you get it close to the light. Looks negative to me.
Nice.
You passed the test.
Pretty clear pee right there, Nelson.
You have drank a lot of water, that's good.
What test were you taking for?
So they test for protein in the urine, which is a test for preeclampsia, right?
Right, yeah.
And then the sugar, which today could have potentially been not good, but it was still fine for diabetes.
Nice.
So this week I had the glucose tolerance test, which obviously is testing for gestational diabetes. And it's one of those things that is common enough that we hear about it when you're pregnant and they tell you about it and they tell you to not all doctors give the greatest advice on how to try to prevent it. And I know a lot about nutrition and I know a lot about the hormonal system, especially when it comes to insulin and its role in our bodies in general. So of course, this is something that I'm really fascinated and interested in why this happens to women when they're pregnant. I researched it. I didn't research it last time. And I was way more nervous last time, to be honest, because I think just with your first pregnancy, you're more nervous about everything. But I researched it this time to figure out, why does this happen to people who are not diabetic or even pre-diabetic necessarily? Why are they getting gestational diabetes? What happens? And what I found was basically the placenta overrides a lot of the normal body functions that we have. And this insulin response is one of them. And one of the goals that the placenta is trying to achieve is to help keep the nutrients from our food that we're eating in our blood for as long as possible. So as much of it gets to the baby as possible, as we're pumping baby through our body and through baby's body, obviously. So insulin's job normally is to lower your blood sugar, which is one of those nutrients that's going to be in your blood. And it comes in, if your blood sugar is high, which it'll raise after you eat, depending on what you eat, depends on how much blood sugar you end up and how fast it spikes and everything. But insulin lowers it back down to a healthy, safe level. Well, the placenta is not so fast. I need this sugar for baby and I need all these nutrients for baby. So it blocks that whole system. It blocks that response. So then your body's response back to that is no, I got to lower this blood sugar. This is my job. And so it secretes more insulin and placenta's blocking it. So I read that by the third trimester, you can have 2 to 3 times more insulin being produced. And your blood sugar just stays much higher for much longer than it normally would because of that whole back and forth battle that they're having. The hormone that your placenta secretes is placental lactogen, I want to say, is what I read. And it was just super fascinating to me. So again, I wasn't too worried about it this time. I didn't have any issues with it last time. But this time I wanted to get my numbers and everything, and I was able to do that. And it was right in the middle of what's totally fine and acceptable and normal. And yeah, I just think it's interesting. And I think that the doctors don't necessarily take time to explain that stuff to us or explain once you have gestational diabetes, they'll tell you, okay, now you can't eat this, this, and this, and you have to be careful. I think that the conversation might have been more useful before you let that happen. So things that are really easily digestible carbohydrates, processed foods and anything with a lot of sugar in it and things like that, or meals that are really unbalanced and don't have any protein and fat and they're just carbs, those are all things that are going to cause a higher blood sugar and potentially lead to those problems, which they will tell you after you've been diagnosed with gestational diabetes. So try to prevent that stuff beforehand, and you're going to be in a much better place. They give you this like small plastic bottle of straight up just like sugar water. It's like corn syrup, I think. And it's just 50 grams of straight sugar that you just drink, and you have to drink it in under 5 minutes. And then an hour later is when they test to see how your insulin response is working and if you're still able to lower your blood sugar to like a good, safe place. Bubbles. It's like syrup. Want to smell it? Whoop. Should have done that. Okay. I have 5 minutes. I don't have to check it. I like don't know. I feel like I'm like drinking for the first time. Like when I had the big gallon plastic bottle of Popoff vodka in my closet when I was a senior in high school. That's what this feels like. Without the fun side effects. It's like it's thicker than water. It's like the thickness of hairspray.
I can smell it.
I can taste it on my tongue. It's like malt liquor. I'm just gonna slow. I gotta find my phone to slow down a little bit.
Just get it out of the way.
No, because then it all hits my stomach all at once. Like,
How's the lime?
I mean, I'm glad they didn't give me some sort of like cherry flavor or something. That would have been so bad. I didn't want to drink that because that's just not something I would normally do. I was worried I was going to get sick. I was worried it was just going to like make me feel like crap. I know at some places, so I asked the doula about it. Actually, the first thing I did was I went to the street parking moms Facebook group and I just typed in glucose tolerance test, and there was several posts with women talking about how they were able to, one, some of them opted out of it completely, but for 5 days, 4 times a day, they had to do like a finger prick and measure their blood sugar, which I think is great, a great option, but I know our life right now, and I would have forgotten one, and they would have still made me take the test anyway. Or if they're not satisfied with the numbers that you send them, they're still gonna make you take it. So I was like, that's probably not going to work. But then some other moms were talking about some other options for not just drinking that sugar water that their midwife or whatever allowed them to use. I think it's probably going to be different for every practice, every state, whatever. I asked the doula. She said that she's heard of people eating like a certain number of a very specific brand of jelly beans. Or she's had clients that were allowed to do like a naked juice. If it's like a certain flavor of it with the exact right amount of sugar and everything. I called them and they turned me down for both of those things. They said the studies aren't like showing that those ways are necessarily accurate enough. So fine. I asked Carolina about it, who's our street parking moms coach, and she said the good news is you're at a birthing center. If you drink that and then tell them you want to like go for a walk or something like that because you're worried that you're going to get sick, they'll let you do that. Where if you're at a regular doctor's office, there's a good chance they're just going to make you sit there and wait. I didn't end up getting too sick. I felt okay. I had worked out that morning, so hopefully maybe that helped a little bit. But if you're worried about that or if you have questions about that, I mean, the least you could do is ask. And if you don't want to drink the sugar water, some people will like throw up and stuff like that, so that's not good. I just think this is like true for anything with our bodies, but especially like while we're pregnant, like ask questions and research this stuff. Like why are they testing for this? Something else that they brought up was a certain vaccine that they wanted me to get for whooping cough. And they just bring it up and they want you to answer right away if you're okay to do it or not. And they did give me the option, but I told them that I would let them know next time because there's so much that's unknown and we do just kind of like blindly trust doctors. But I think it's great for us to take this opportunity to learn how our body works, learn what this process is, ask questions, ask other people around us that we trust who've been through it before, or, watch the vlog episodes or whatever, so that you're not just like blindly making decisions, especially like as a first-time mom, just blindly trusting other people's advice, especially people you don't know. There's going to be so much advice that comes your way that can be confusing. And I think the very first thing you need to do as a mom, even before the baby comes out, is start to trust your own judgment and be willing to do your own research and go with what feels right for you. All right, guys, that is it for week 28 to 29. Next week, we're headed to Disneyland. So we're going to be talking about traveling in your third trimester. If you guys want any more information about what's going on with me right now, or have specific topics you would love to hear my take on as we go through this last trimester, put those in the comments and we would love to tackle those for you.